All right, welcome into the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast, episode 3. Just kind of get right into it. The Bucks beat the 76ers 90 to 88. Not a well-played offensive game by any stretch of the imagination. Huge defensive battle. And really, Evan, let's be honest here, there wasn't really any standout players outside of Giannis and James Harden.
Yeah, I think Giannis kind of starting out, I think they were going back and forth a little bit. James Harden had the better stat line, but I think overall aspect, they both kind of were doing similar things. James Harden killing us, absolutely killing us. Shot 13 for 24, a little over 50%, almost had a triple-double, but the big thing was that he was only 1 for 7 on threes. So I think had he had 13 or couple of those 13 field goals been threes, I think obviously that's game. But played 40 minutes. Yeah, I don't like James Harden overall. I don't really like him, but he's that guy right now, I think, on the 76ers. Even though they're 0-2, he's hard carrying them right now.
Yep. We're going to save that for a little later, though. But the first topic I want to bring up has to do with the broadcast team. Now, I used to call games for the TV station, UWW TV, so I try to be sympathetic to broadcasting because it's not an easy thing. No matter how many fans on the television said it's easy. It's not. It takes a lot of work, effort, and, you kind of have to know what to say. Stan Van Gundy's pronunciation of Giannis's last name. It bothered me for so many reasons.
It did for me too.
Number one, it was the worst pronunciation of his last name.
Aquompo. He kept saying Giannis Aquompo.
So he added a Q and a W for some reason, and I didn't understand that at all. And it wasn't just if he did it twice. All right, fine, whatever. Sometimes people mispronounce it. He did it throughout the entirety of the first half.
He kept going, and then I forgot who was with him announcing, but he even mentioned it. He's like, "You're pronouncing it wrong," and he's like, "Yeah, you're adding the Q and the W to it." He's been in the league. This is his 10th year. If you can't get his name down by now, especially for Stan Van Gundy, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
It bothered me. Now look, there's a lot of things that I deal with Stan Van Gundy on the broadcast. Okay, I know he always harps on Giannis taking threes. Okay,
yep,
and as most TNT analysts do, which again I'm fine with. They're former players, former coaches. That it's their job to be critical and say what they see. And I have a lot of respect for Stan Van Gundy as a coach. Okay, he led the Magic to the 2009 Finals. So he was a successful coach in this league. But just call him Giannis, okay? That's all we're asking here. Giannis, a Greek freak.
He kept going.
It's
not some random. He's not like this is his first year. He's some new guy. This is the Finals MVP. This is a 2-time MVP. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Oh my gosh, driving me nuts. I'm glad you noticed it. I'm glad other people noticed it too. It was that real subtle thing that was just like, okay, he kept going with it. Yes.
I don't know if it's almost as worse as, and I noticed this too, as when Spiro Dennis calls Giannis. I think this is his Greek name, but I still don't like it. He calls him Yanni.
Yep, that's his Greek name. Yanni.
That's his Greek name. I would prefer Giannis, but whatever. I think that was just splitting hairs. I would prefer they just called him Giannis, but don't touch a Kwompo.
And it was like a deep Kwompo.
So bad. All right, that was the only thing aside from the game that really kind of bothered me.
That was our game rant.
That was our broadcast game rant, which again, I don't try to harp on the broadcast team. I mean, there were many people who didn't like when Reggie Miller and Chris Webber did a game together because apparently they weren't good together. There were many people who probably didn't like Marv Albert toward the end. No, Marv Albert was bad toward the end. Let's admit that he was. But Stan Van Gundy, I took to Cuomo. That was so bad. All right, let's get into some of these takeaways from the game. So like I said in the open, big defensive battle between these two teams.
Mm-hmm.
Not like an offensive game by any stretch of the imagination. You would thought the Bucks would kind of win it going away, especially toward the end of the third quarter. But
Yep.
turn the ball over a few times. James Harden took advantage. So, Evan, what do you take away from this game?
So the first thing I noticed was their change in defense. I believe they're going with a new defensive routine, I guess, but it's more of like the double team when they get kind of close to the paint, not quite man to man as much as it was last year, but they were really holding off Embiid in the paint. Or if he got to the paint, they were able to capitalize on stopping him. I think it was really big noticing like how different they were when they were attacking the rim. Embiid was blocked, I think, 3 or 4 times by Brook and Giannis. And I think they were able to lock up the paint and the perimeter a lot better than they have, especially in the playoffs, letting threes and threes be shot. I think they really limited that. And I think that's a super underrated thing that if like a real like fan noticing from last year to this year, I think that was a huge defensive switch. Now they did kind of fall apart at the end with their defense and offense a little bit, but I think overall that whole game, the defense was insanely better than it was last year.
I agree with you on those points. I'm sure there was a lot of the Bucks contingent who was
Mm-hmm.
complaining about the drop coverage we've played.
Yep.
Look, drop coverage is always going to be employed in the Mike Budenholzer system. Okay, Brook Lopez is not athletic enough to hang on to these quicker guards.
No, not at
He's
all.
not. And was there more paint points for James Harden? For sure. Was Brook Lopez dropping further and further into the paint? Absolutely, but you kind of have to take the good with the bad
Yep.
because I think you'd rather have James Harden shoot some paint points more
Yeah,
so
over
than hit a step
threes.
back three on you.
Yes.
So, um, I think it might be a little too early to have Brook Lopez start stepping out and be aggressive
Uh-huh.
on those guys because at some point you have to save him. So I think you got to give up like one thing, and I think if they want to limit the threes, then you kind of just have to give up guys like going into the paint, shooting floaters over you, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that aspect of it, I was fine with. And look, I think both of us were a little worried about like Philly's role players.
Sixers
Um,
role players.
yeah, Sixers role players. I don't think really anybody outside of Tyrese Maxey showed up in that game.
Yeah, their bench only scored 13 points,
Mm.
and that was 2 guys combined. They had 11 guys play. They had 6 play off the bench, and 4 of them didn't score. Niang played 8 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and 4 minutes. They kind of played in critical time near the end. But you played your 2 guys, your 6 and 7 guys, for 19 and 21 minutes, and they only scored 13 points. So their role players again did not show up, but Tyrese Maxey, they kind of did. Him and Embiid were pretty similar, but yeah, agreed. The role players for that did not show up in that game, and I think that was one of the big reasons why they also couldn't come back too.
Speaking of Embiid, I talked about in the last podcast episode about he now knows how dominant he is. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he does because what I saw from Joel Embiid in last night's game was Joel Embiid, like say like 2 or 3 years ago. He's constantly bailing out the other defense by settling for jumpers. That is
Yes.
exactly what he did. He couldn't get anything on the inside for Brook Lopez,
No.
and he couldn't get anything on the inside against Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez really shut him down once he got 2 feet in the paint, and Joel Embiid constantly was settling for jumpers. And I heard the TNT broadcast talk about this yesterday about how they were talking about like traffic cops, about how like when Giannis has the ball, the whole defense shifts and moves, and Giannis can make the easy pass
Yep.
easily. When Joel Embiid has the ball, everybody stops. Nobody moves because they know he's just gonna like force up a jump shot, or he's just not gonna. It's not gonna be a good play. Um, like the whole offense stops when he has the ball, and even without the ball, he'll let guys like James Harden and Tyrese Maxey go one on one.
Mm-hmm.
And Shaq is right about this. He should have been demanding the ball more. He should have been like, "Give me the ball, okay? I have Brook Lopez on my back, okay? I understand he's down, but just keep feeding me the ball, okay?" Like it wasn't great offense by the 76ers by any stretch of the imagination yesterday. And credit to the Bucks. They played great defense on them.
They did. And yeah, looking at the stats, Embiid went 6 for 21 and 1 for 3 from 3. So, first of all, he shot 21 shots. That's already like an absurd amount. But all of those shots were, 3 of the shots were from the 3. All the other ones were in the paint or right at the rim. Yeah, and he was, again, Giannis and Lopez were just sticking to that spot, and they were they read him like a book. They literally read him like a book. They were able to figure out where he's going. Because again, when he has the ball, he just keeps dribbling and he keeps it and he tries to like make a play instead of sometimes passing it out, but he wants to score like as soon as he gets the ball. And I think the two big men like that, I think they did really well. Overall, I think Brook Lopez, in my opinion, take away the shooting, was a huge like key player to that game. I think if he doesn't play how he did, they don't win that game,
Yeah, and
especially
look,
early on.
yeah, you're right about that. And we've obviously talked about the role players from both sides. We talked about Philly's role players not really showing up. The Bucks, it was a little better than Philly, just not by much.
Yes.
Grayson Allen had 12 points off the bench.
Mhm.
Obviously, Wes Matthews hit a crucial 3. When I saw Jordan Noah minutes, I gotta admit, I wasn't that impressed.
No, yeah, he played 15 minutes, 6 points and 3 rebounds. He got some shots off, but again, it wasn't like where we're thinking he's going to be. Hopefully that's just kind of like a first game kind of get out of the way, but at least he didn't shoot an absurd amount and just miss almost all his shots like some starters like Drew Holiday. Actually a lot of their starters shot way under 500. Drew Holiday 2 for 15, Grayson Allen 3 for 10, Lopez 6 for 16. But yeah, Nora not impressed as much. I would
No,
agree with
and
you
there
on
was
that
one
one.
play that sticks out to me. I don't know if you remember this. It was the end of the third quarter. You can correct me on this. It might have been Maxey or Harden. They were Bucks just scored. They're racing down the end of the
Oh,
floor.
yes, to end the third quarter
Yes,
where they ran it all the way up and scored
yes. Who was that?
in the
Was
4
that
seconds.
Harden or Maxey?
No, I don't think it was either of those. I think it was I think it was Melton or House.
Okay. Well,
I think it was one of
anyways,
those guys.
that like Jordan Nora, like I don't mean to. That defense was so lazy. I'm
Mhm.
serious. He jogged at the end of the court. The guy just ran full steam. Bobby Portis was late. Guy
Yep.
laid it up, and I was like, "See, this is what I'm talking about." Jordan Nora. There was no sense of urgency right there for him to even stop the ball. He just
Mhm.
kind of basically jogged back on defense, let the guys score, easy bucket. I mean, look, it did change the momentum just a little bit because
It did.
anytime you get a score at the end of the third quarter, like they get momentum into the fourth.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things was too is that they needed to stop them at like by half court because you don't want to like foul them and then give them an and one. Like, if you're gonna let him get all the way there, you might as well just let him make it and don't risk anything else happening. You don't want to get Giannis another foul and one. It was like one of those things where it's like that was like so sloppy, but it could have been worse. But yeah, they just kind of like stood around and just he ran the court in 4 seconds with ease, no obstacles or anything. But yes, that was one of those points where it's like, after they just made that little push. But yes, agree on that 100%. Sloppy.
Yeah. And look, we mentioned Drew Holiday. Look, I understand Drew Holiday. Yeah, he's been with the Bucks 2 years. Okay, sometimes he's gonna have games where he doesn't shoot the ball well. But the one thing I can count on for Drew Holiday, and I guess I'm one of those people like I don't particularly care how he shoots. Like I more like to see what he does at the end of games.
Yep.
Drew Holiday, like even if he doesn't shoot the ball well, he's one of those guys that I know I can count on to make winning plays.
Yes. Whether it's
He-
defensive or offensive.
exactly, and look, he was able to drive to the rack, get 2 free throws, fourth quarter. And he also had a huge steal against Harden. He able to tip the ball, start a fast
Yep.
break. So look, Drew Holiday's not always going to have a great offensive night. Obviously we saw that in the finals against the Sun. There were a couple games he didn't have a great offensive night, but when it's crunch time, I know I can trust Drew Holiday.
Yeah, because again, if you're looking at his stats, the first thing you see is 6 points, 2 for 15, 0 for 6 from 3. But some people don't realize that he had 4 rebounds and 8 assists. The 8 assists, I think, is something that people aren't really looking at or don't really see when they see someone who shoots 2 for 15. Because if he's 6 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist, then you can kind of see it. But the 8 assists, he was playmaking and getting other people the ball. Sure, he shot a lot more than he probably needed to, but he was still getting the ball to his teammates overall. And again, making big plays at the end of the game to help secure the win.
Yeah, and I think that was the underrated part of the game. Is Drew Holiday did make a couple underrated plays, but
Yep.
how about Wes Matthews? I mean, I'm not expecting Wes Matthews to be like our version of Chris Middleton, where he's like where he can make something happen offensively.
Yep.
But I'm gonna tell you, he's good for one pull up game winning three a game or a season. Really,
Wesley Matthews is clutch, and I think he's always going to be clutch. I don't know what it is with him, but I hate when he shoots the entire game until it actually matters. Because, like, if you look at the end of the play where he hits that 3, they show a replay of, like, the far angle, and you can see Brook Lopez pointing up for an alley-oop, but they kind of missed that, and he was able to kind of break away Grayson Allen and get Wesley Matthews up top. So he was, again, wide open, and I think in those situations, he understands that he needs to hit this shot, and I think he's very capable of being that final shot person, and I think a lot of teams don't realize how lethal he can be end game, because usually it's get the ball to Giannis, get the ball to Chris, but sometimes it could be get the ball to Wesley Matthews if he's open, because he, again, last year on Christmas with the go-ahead shot, this past one, he's had some other ones kind of throughout the season, not like buzzer beater, but like, again, those go ahead baskets. I think Wesley Matthews is super underrated when it comes to late game crunch time kind of situations where he has all the pressure on him right there, but he is still going to take that shot. Even if he's over 10, he's still going to hit the shot. And I think that was, I jumped up on the couch. I freaked out on that shot because I knew it was going in when he shot it because it's Wesley Matthews. But I think he had a really good game yesterday, and I think he can be one of those guys to step up when Chris and Pat are out.
yeah, he's like the guy in pickup who misses all game, then he'll hit like a bank in three.
That hits the game winner.
Yeah, that's what I remind of Wesley Matthews. Although
Yep.
let's go back to the defense for a sec. There's some things that never change. Poor Grayson Allen, just mercifully just getting attacked defensively.
Yes, he started off doing well, and then he kind of got locked up. He had 12 points starting, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. He had those 2 deep threes to start the game. And if you didn't if you saw a few days ago, there's a guy on Instagram, Lethal Shooter, big NBA trainer, shooter. He was working with him at the Panther Arena, working on those deep three balls, and he hit probably like 9 or 10 in a row. And as soon as he gets the ball, takes a deep three, drains it. So I'm hoping the Lethal Shooter can kind of get him to that spot, because I think last year, especially in the playoffs, he struggled a lot after getting into the after the Bulls series. But I think Grayson Allen, yeah, he was getting locked up, but I can see him getting around that for some of these upcoming games. I think he started off hot and can get around some of these other defensive teams who may not be as dominant as the 76ers are.
Yeah, and look, to start the game, it wasn't a good matchup for him. Being locked
Yep.
up with Tobias Harris, guys obviously outweighs him by like, I don't know, 30 or 40 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, they got
I
the
mean,
height on him too.
it was a tough matchup, and look, they knew, and we kind of knew, like, once they rolled out the 3-guard lineup with
Mhm.
Drew Holiday, Javon Carter, and
Yep.
Grayson Allen, we were giving up a little bit of size, obviously, because Middleton's sitting 6'6", 6'7". So,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, like, there was a little bit of question of how the Bucks would roll out the lineup, missing obviously Middleton and Pat Connaughton, which we'll get into a
Mhm.
little bit later. But giving up just a little bit of size, the Sixers did have a bit of a height advantage on us,
Yep.
but um, but I was also impressed with Javon Carter's minutes as well too.
Yeah, I was actually I was fine with their starting lineup yesterday. I thought it was Javon Carter getting to start with Holiday and Grayson Allen. So again, you got the three small guys, but then you got the taller guys too. So I think it kind of worked for a little bit. I think Javon Carter, he did have a couple turnovers kind of early on or later. Yeah, somewhere mid or end of the first quarter. But I think playmaking wise, he didn't do too bad. But yeah, him and Grayson Allen, I think were a good duo to kind of start the game. But yeah, I was pretty impressed with that lineup. I didn't mind it at all.
I didn't,
Instead
I
of
didn't,
getting George Hillett or someone else.
yeah, I didn't either because, uh, yeah, because we just didn't have much of a, just wasn't much of a bench to like kind of throw out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, oh, what's the other one? All right, moving on. During this podcast, a lot of times we've talked about the rookie MarJon Beauchamp.
Yes.
Did not play yesterday. Are you
He did
surprised
not.
that MarJon
No, he did not.
Beauchamp did not play?
I feel like he either wasn't going to play no matter what because it's the 76ers in Philly.
Mm.
And I feel like that would be a hard game to get him into, just like right off the bat to start your NBA career. Um, I feel like there would have been a chance of him coming in had our bench guys just not produced. I think if they were all falling apart, I think there could have been a chance where he played a couple minutes, but I felt like it was a better idea to save him for a different game to start than it would be to throw him into the NBA against James Harden and Joel Embiid for your NBA debut. So I wasn't opposed with it. Sure would have been cool to see him on opening night against the Sixers, but I felt like it was a good hold off, I think, overall, just kind of keeping him back, letting him watch the first game, see how it goes, and see if they can slowly ease him into the season. Maybe even play tomorrow too, near the end. Again, it is the Rockets, so hopefully they can be a game where they can kind of get him in near the end. But I think overall, I think it was a better idea to not play him that one.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Only because of the fact that he's only a rookie. Okay, he hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
He's, I guess, played against a lot of top tier talent. The G League does. They do have a lot of top talent there, but
Yep.
yeah, Philly, your first game. A lot of rookies start off with a lot of jitters, a lot of
Yep.
nervousness, and especially on a championship contending team, it can be hard for a rookie to fit in. And we talked about this before. It's really hard for young players to crack into Budenholzer's rotation.
Yep.
I know obviously Dante DiVincenzo was one of the few to do it
Mm-hmm.
because there was a lot of good things he could do well. But MarJon Beauchamp, we're not sure yet. I know what the scouts say that he's a great defender. He could dunk the basketball, has a not a good 3-point shot, but a bit of a jump shot, I guess.
Yep.
But again, like he's one of those guys, like we're not sure what we have in Beauchamp.
Yeah, and I think again, tossing him in rookie, kind of that rookie jitters. I hope they play him tomorrow or gets there, but I think it's good to let him kind of feel it out a little bit. Again, we don't know what we're going to get from him right away. Again, does have a lot of experience through the Ignite, which is good because then it might be a little more helpful when he comes in and plays maybe the Pistons or the Rockets coming up. So I think overall, I think he'll be ready to go once he plays, or maybe he'll have like a kind of a rough game to start, but I think he'll have a good bounce back. I think he's going to have a solid season if he can get in the minutes with Budenholzer. I don't want to see him ride the bench the whole year. I don't think that's going to be a good role for him and a good like mentality. I think for him going into the NBA with such high hopes for him getting drafted. So I'm hoping they can get him in or fit him in somehow. But I think he'll be ready for when he comes in though to play.
Yeah, no disrespect to the other guys, but come on, MarJon Beauchamp is better than Mamu, like Thanasis.
Yep.
Is that guy Luca still on the team? Luca,
They cut him. They cut him, Lindell, and Bolden.
damn.
Yeah, they cut all three of those guys
What about my guy
earlier
AJ
this
Green?
week. They kept AJ Green.
They kept AJ Green.
Yep, they kept AJ Green, and that's it. Out of all their summer league guys.
On topic, but staying off topic, but kind of staying on topic. I don't know. Some of those guys, like Lindell. Lindell played
I
hard.
loved Lindell. I thought he was
He played
solid.
hard when he was in.
But I hope he goes to a team that can use him.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of those Bucks role players who are a lot better than you think they are. Like I was a big fan of Mamadi Diakite, and then he went to the Thunder and kind of balled out. Now he's on the Cavs, but I think it'll be a solid pickup for some rebuilding team. But yeah, AJ Green's the only one they kept.
Real quick aside before we get to Pat Connaughton. What was Thanasis doing with Giannis's nose yesterday?
Yeah, I didn't see that whole video. I had parent teacher conferences and I looked at my watch and I just see Thanasis picks Giannis's nose. I saw a little picture. I don't know what they were fixing, but that was kind of weird. And everything is always being watched. I feel like there's some things where it's like, I mean, I have a brother. I never like had a brotherly instinct to like grab his nose. I don't know. That was kind of weird, but it's kind of funny knowing it was them. I think out of all people, it's funny knowing that it was Giannis and Thanasis. Just I don't know if he was fooling around. He's like, "Oh, you got something on your nose," kind of thing, and they caught it. But that was an odd notification to get on my phone.
It might be a cultural thing. That's the only thing I can think of because like I grew up with two older brothers too. I never felt the need like if they had something in their nose, I just never felt the need to be like, here,
Let me grab that for you.
and look, it's so and like anything they do, I'm gonna be honest, it's like so funny and just
It
like
is.
it's cute, like it really is, in like a good way. It's just
Uh-huh.
like Thanasis just always looks out for Giannis, and it's just I just love their relationship.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
a good one. I'm glad they keep him for that aspect. I think it's good for both of them.
and they have another Antetokounmpo brother, don't they?
Yeah, Alex for the herd. I think he's just on the herd though. I don't think he's a two-way guy.
I don't think he's a two-way guy yet. Now that'd be good.
Hmm.
They just put
All three.
no, they just put all three in there. Coach Bruno's are just sitting there like,
Yep.
let's see. We got to play one. We're not getting these two guys
Uh-huh.
in here, but that'd be That'd be fun. Costa's still got to be playing, right? We got to get.
He signed with the Bulls two-way. Yep. And people were like, "Oh, this is the next step to get Giannis." After Giannis said, "Like, yeah, I wouldn't mind playing with the Bulls." When asked, "Would you ever play with them?" It's like one of those questions, like, what else are you gonna say? But yeah, he signed a two-way with the Bulls in September, August, one of those times.
Well, you know who's next? Liam.
Yes,
We gotta get Liam. If we like Giannis is so insane.
got to get him ready.
Giannis is like so insane that he might play up until Liam plays with them in the NBA.
Yeah, he's gonna be the next LeBron and Bronny, which I'd be all for.
I'd be for. And look, that's hopefully if Liam wants to pick up a basketball and play with his dad, you know what? Every Bucks fan will be all for it.
Yes.
In the 20, I don't even know how old he is now. In the 2040,
probably like 2.
I think he's 2. So that's about. Let's see. It's about 16 years.
2040, yeah.
Yeah, about the 2040 draft. I think he'll be ready. He'll be ready now. Let's see. That's hoping Giannis plays for 27
years. Yep.
Very realistic, but you know what? We have belief here. All right. Okay. I feel like we kind of answered this question, but this is kind of like a futures question. How worried are you about the bench score? Sorry. How worried are you about the bench stepping up in Pat Connaughton's absence?
I think it's going to be tough for some games, but I'm not. After watching yesterday, obviously it was a scare. I did get nervous, but I think a lot of those guys showed up and they did it well, where it's to the point where I'm not nervous. Again, there could be games where they're off. Maybe they lose a couple games because someone on the bench wasn't scoring. But I think overall, I don't think we should be worried as a whole, if these guys can continue to step up like Wesley and Javon and Grayson, and hopefully Noor as well. We just need the shooters to show up, hit the shots that they need. Again, I'm not asking for 5 or 6 threes a game. 2, 3 from a couple of them, I think will be a good fill-in while Pat and Chris are gone too.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Charles Barkley kind of talked about this yesterday when he was talking about like who's going to score for the Bucks bench, and someone brought up Bobby Portis, and he was like, he's not an offensive player.
He had 8 threes in a game last year.
Yeah, I laughed at that. You know, again, it's Charles Barkley. Take the words with a grain of salt. Yeah, I think I'm not worried about Bobby Portis scoring.
No.
The others, I'm a little concerned about because who do you have? Okay, so let's see. You have Bobby Portis. You have George Hill.
Yep. They need Bobby for rebounding primarily. If he can, like he had 11-10 game yesterday. That's a solid game, I think, for him. And I think that's a good stat line for him to get coming off the bench. We don't need him to get 30 points. They need him to get the offensive rebounds or get the defensive rebounds to start a fast break. I think that's what they are going to need him for. And I think he had a really solid game yesterday with that 11 and 10. Yeah, you're saying Javon and all those other guys are the ones that I think will need to step up more than what we expect Bobby to do.
But that's what's confusing me. It's like I don't know if that regular lineup that they rolled out against the 76ers is their lineup, because I want to call Javon a bench player, and I feel like he is.
Yeah, I do too.
But and with that, I'm kind of struggling to think of something, because I know we got Bobby, George Hill, Wesley Matthews. I don't know.
Yeah, no, sorry, you go.
I'm just struggling to kind of find like, okay, who's really our bench players? Because I know Javon will be at the end, and now that Pat Connaughton's out, our bench is really kind of rail thin right now. And and despite the fact that they signed Ibaka, he's probably not going to see too many games this year, being the third string center.
Yep.
And look, it wasn't like a huge rotational bench yesterday.
No, yeah, because they played 10 guys to the Sixers 11 guys. But now also you got to think again, Pat's out, Chris is out, MarJon hasn't played, and Joe Ingles will also be back too. So I think eventually they're going to get to the point where they're going to be fine. But the lineup right now that they had yesterday, again, is not, I agree with you, is not going to be a continuing. I want to guess George Hill will get starts. I think, and Javon will as well. I think they'll either alternate or George Hill will be the other starter. I think that's what they kind of did last year at times, but I think it's going to be him or Javon for that role. I don't think it's going to be Bobby or Jordan or another big guy. I think it's going to be one or the other for those two guys.
Yeah, look, I honestly can't wait to see how Joe Ingles looks.
I do too. I'm so excited.
Once he comes back, because torn ACL, obviously a serious thing. One of the things I want to see for Joe Ingles is like how much of a minutes restriction will he be on to like kind of start off?
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to kind of hold him back until, I don't know when the All-Star game is, if that's like too far of a push or just, again, slowly ease him, use him for certain scenarios, not like full on, because he's not going to start. He's going to be like a 7 or 8 guy, but yeah, I'm kind of curious. They're not going to go full out, but I'm just curious of if he's going to be like a playmaker or if he's going to be a catch and shoot kind of guy, or both.
Yeah, and the same thing I'm wondering about for Middleton. I don't think he'll be on a minutes restriction because it is a wrist injury, but I think rust is more of a question for Middleton. Is how rusty will he be? Uh,
Yeah.
like how long
Is
will
he
it
going to
take him to find
start?
his form? Yeah.
Yeah, I assume he'll start or he'll like be a 6-man maybe for a game or two. But I don't see it being like some huge impact where he's got to like really work on getting back. Again, the wrist thing, he was playing through it. So I say it takes a game or two for him to get back. It's not going to be some game changing thing that happens to him.
I don't even know if we mentioned that on the pod, but yeah, Middleton, I think just found out is going to be out for a few weeks with still recovering from wrist surgery. I
Yep.
think when he talked to Cassidy Hubbard last week for against the Nets, I think he said he's progressing well. I don't even know if he's playing games yet. I think he's starting to shoot and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I would assume he warms up with them because he was on the bench yesterday, so he's traveling with them. So it's not like as serious as some people I think are taking it, but again, it'll just be a work his way back into the lineup.
okay, now before we end this podcast, there was one thing I forgot to bring up that happened in the game yesterday that I thought I should. The NBA has to enact a 2 challenge rule.
Yeah, or usually with it being in the fourth quarter, usually under 2 minutes, the refs will look at it. Are you talking about the out of bounds play?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that like you can ask for a review. I didn't think you had to challenge it. Unless I'm wrong, but I could have sworn in the past there's always been like a ref review. Now I'm kind of mad that they did challenge that loose ball foul, but I seriously thought that they were gonna lose the game because they wasted their challenge. I'm like that's the game. But also, how did that ref not see that? They show the replay 100 times, and you can see the ref looking at the guy, and all his fingers bend backwards. I don't know. I don't
That
know. That was frustrating.
no, and it was an out of bounds play, and you just brought up a great point. It was an out of bounds play, so I don't understand either why there wasn't a review, and I don't even think
Especially in that time of the game.
broadcast the broadcast didn't even bring it up either.
Mhm. Yeah, Stan Van Gundy kept saying, "Oh, well, they used their challenge, so they can't challenge it." And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, I swear, in the past, the refs can review it, like a ref review, I guess you could call it. But I've always thought that a team could ask for it without using their challenge because I didn't think that was like a challenge type play, especially it being like 9 seconds left in the game 2-point game or a tie game, actually. 1-point game. I don't know what I'm talking about. 1-point game. But yeah, I seriously thought like that's how they lose. They had to lead the whole game and then that was it. But that was some pretty solid defense right at the end on Harden.
It's funny though because on that play, like of course TNT blames Joel Embiid for quickly just passing out a skip pass to
Yep.
Maxey. So that's what makes it so great. Is I didn't even notice that. You just noticed the pass, but
Yep.
yeah, James Harden tried to draw what I like to call a 2019 James Harden foul.
Yep. And he didn't get it.
Where he creates the contact. Drew Holiday played great defense on him, didn't get the
Yep.
call. Bucks win. By the way, I'll say this. Shrewd coaching by Mike Budenholzer because Brook Lopez got fouled, made the first. He had him intentionally miss the second.
That was a really good intentional miss. I've never seen like an actual shot miss. Usually it's like you chuck it at the rim so everyone knows it's coming. That was a really good intentional miss. Really impressive how he played that one out. But that was a good call, I think, overall by Budenholzer. Because the ball goes as soon as it hits the rim.
And it worked out.
The time, not the ball.
Yeah, because it worked out because it went right to Brook Lopez.
Yep, and then he shot it right back.
Game would have been over anyways because I never see intentional misses where the other team like makes it at the other end. So I mean,
yep. Yeah, the only reason I did that was because they didn't have any timeouts left. So then the time goes and you just got to chuck it up instead of them getting out and maybe getting a half quarter up. But yeah, it was a good play call, I think, overall by Budenholzer. One of his many few.
Evan, anything else?
I'm going to the game tomorrow. I'm expecting a win. I think my score predictions. See, we had our score predictions for the last game. We had a 5-point difference, I think. It was a little. We might have to look that back. I know we didn't get it right on, but I think we were really close. I think I had 101.96. I think Bucks win tomorrow, 112 to 101. 112-101. Bucks.
Yeah, so watching the podcast back today, I had 108, 105.
Okay.
And I believe you had 101.97.
Okay.
I think that's what the score predictions were.
Yeah, 90 to 88 was a low scoring game.
Yep. So I mean, look, in case you missed it, the Bucks play tomorrow, 7 p.m. Fiserv Forum against the Houston Rockets. A lot of young talent at the Rockets. Second overall pick, Jabari Smith, match that with Jalen Green.
Yep.
Jay Sean Tate. Eric Gordon's still on the squad.
Yep, they have another rookie from last year. I don't remember his name, but one of the higher picks too.
So they got Josh Christopher. So the Rockets have a great young team. And this year they have a draft pick by the name of Ty Washington out of Kentucky. So just a great young team. I think if you blindfold anybody, I don't think they'd be able to name too many players in the Rockets roster. But they are building a young nucleus in Houston. They also have Kevin Porter Jr., who they just re-signed to a contract.
Yep.
So,
young talent, and it should be a good game.
It should be a good game. If I had to do a score prediction, I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to go 105-98.
Okay.
I think
it'll still be a little close again without Chris and Pat. I'm going to say Giannis drops at least 30. I'm going to go 112-101.
Yeah, this is a perfect Giannis game where he just dominates.
Yep, take him out early and just toss in. Maybe we see MarJon tomorrow.
Maybe we see MarJon. Maybe we see Serge Ibaka. Who knows? Okay, I would like Serge Ibaka to get some minutes.
Yep.
MarJon's gonna be your guy, and for some random reason, Serge Ibaka is gonna be
Serge
mine.
is your guy,
even though he's been in the league for like damn near over 10 years. But
yep.
I do like watching Serge Ibaka play. So, that's it for this edition of the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap. We'll see you guys next week.